Hey fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters World, and today I am joined with my friends Melinda and Tracey from the Galivanting Gals. And today I want to talk about some of the hidden kind of costs that you have when you travel. And anytime you travel, you're starting to think about accommodation. So what do you think? What are some of the accommodation hidden fees and hidden costs we might not think about?
Well, I would say some of it would be laundry.
Yeah.
You know, you use hotel laundry, it's going to cost you. You take it someplace off of the hotel premises, it's going to cost you. So just be prepared. You may have to wear those shorts or those jeans or that shirt a couple times before you decide to wash it.
And that's why I always recommend bringing extra undies.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
always so important.
Exactly.
And there's other accommodation things we have to think about. Yep. I mean, I know for me, when I go to Vegas or I was in Nashville recently, resort fees. Like, they quote you a price, and all of a sudden you get there like, oh, it's $20 a day, but you get to use the internet and you get to go around.
Right.
I mean,
Right. Well, and speaking of internet, the internet's not always free at every hotel. So, you need to check that because sometimes that adds a cost as well.
And when you're going around, in some places you'll have a quote and then you actually pay like a city tax or a tourism tax. There's something on there that might not be included in your price. For example, we were in Rome. I took a group of students there and we had 20 people. And as we're leaving, it's all paid for. Like, wait, we need your €2 per day per person thing.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh yeah, can we just please? Like, no. And it's got to be cash.
Yep.
So you have these little things. Sometimes it'll get you.
Yep.
But another thing that sometimes you forget about is parking, right?
Oh yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Parking fees, if parking's not included, make sure you account for that. And I think the other thing is tips, right? For like the cleaning staff. In some places, the tips are really how the people make a living. Whether it's a city tax, tourism fee, I mean, the rate you see is not always what you pay.
Yeah,
right.
And I think one of the things that's been kind of in the news a lot lately with Airbnbs and apartment rentals are cleaning fees. So make sure when you're looking at prices, don't just say, oh, it's $115 a night. Look and see what the total cost will be, because when you think it's going to be, it's going to be 2 nights, it'll be $230.
Exactly.
And you're like, wait, why is it $450?
Yeah.
Like, the taxes and then the cleaning fees. So look out for those costs, okay? Now, another thing is the gals and I, we're big on flying. We're big on traveling and seeing the world. And so airports and planes, when you're buying tickets, sometimes you got some hidden costs there too. And I know one of the things that really frustrates people is, luggage fees. Some people I got the credit card, so I don't have to pay the luggage fees. But yeah, you might have to pay for your luggage. Heck, you might have to pay for your handbags on some airlines. So there's those costs.
Yep. And we've flown, if you're flying a budget airline, for example, I know EasyJet, we've flown it in Europe. Okay. If you want a Coke, if you want a bag of chips, it's, $3 or, €3, whatever it is. So that some of those fees you just don't know that are on there.
And then even in the airport itself, I mean, you will spend a fortune on just, a bottle of water. It's nothing $5, $8 for a bottle of water. So, I mean...
and that's why we always say, it's like, if you can take your reusable water bottle, it's got to be empty. They're going to make it drain it at the check, at the security check. But a lot of them will have refillable stations you can go. Use that, because, literally, if you've got a 3-hour layover, you could save yourself $15-20 in water just doing that. And also, I think another thing you need to remember is when you're flying or your airports and things, you really got to think about, your parking, because the airport you fly out of will really dictate. Like, we can fly out of Chicago for a little bit cheaper, but I'm paying, $20-30 a day for parking sometimes. Whereas I go to a local airport, I have one more connection, but I have no parking fees. Right. And so you want to look at those fees that are there. That's why a lot of regional airports have done very well over the last few years, is because, look, you get a shorter security line and you're not paying $400 in parking.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. And also, some airlines even charge you to print out a boarding pass. And there's a lot of hidden fees you just don't always know.
My favorite is you have to pay to be able to pay. So they charge you more. Oh, you're going to use a debit card? You're going to use a debit card. Oh, it's $5 for the debit card. You use a credit card? Oh, it's $13 on top for that. I'm like, well, how do I just pay and not have the extra fee? So there's actually no way around it. And that doesn't necessarily come up when you're actually, searching for prices. So something to think about. So then Some countries, when you leave, what do they have?
They have a departure tax.
Yep.
And you don't, you don't necessarily know it. It's kind of like the tourism tax or city tax in some of the cities' hotels. I mean, you have to pay a certain amount to leave.
I mean, sometimes it's not. I mean, I've gone places where it's like $20. You had like a $20 bill. Some was $37. It was like these random amounts, and a lot of airlines try to integrate that into their cost. But some places are like, no, we want the money ourselves.
Yep. So
that's one thing to look at. And then you're talking about the expensive water, but what about the food?
Yeah, the food. I mean, you stand in line usually forever, and then you have to pay
$10.
$10
for a ham and cheese
that's
Yeah.
the size of a microwavable biscuit.
And that's the thing is when you look at it, if you're going to be staying at resorts, if you look at food at resorts, not every resort is all inclusive, and you'll see that the hidden fee is insanely high prices to eat. That whether it's the mini bar to get food out of there, get drinks from there, or their little shop, those are hidden costs. You're not thinking about like, I need a midnight snack, I need something there. Also, another hidden fee that I like to talk to is like, look, wherever you're from, you might get free stuff. Like in the U.S., chips and salsa, or bread and butter, or a salad comes with that every time. Not every country has that. Like I always talk about Portugal, we're like, the bread and the butter and the olives, that's all additional prices. So those are hidden costs you miss sometimes as well.
Exactly, and sometimes in some places they'll actually set it out on the table, so you assume that it's like here with chips and salsa,
free.
And if you eat it,
you're paying it.
Yep. So
I've seen people lose it in Lisbon because they're so mad. They're like, "What's this 15 euros for?" Well, you had the ham and cheese. And they're like, "What? I thought it was no."
Yep.
So be careful with that one. Now, there's other fees like when you travel around. Museums are a big thing. I mean, I always love going in. And back in the day, the audio guy was like, you'd come in, they'd give you an audio guide. It's not that way a lot of places. Some places like, if you want an audio guide, you could download the app.
Yes.
You can do that for free.
Sure.
Or we have our own for a €5 or $5 or 5 whatever, 500 yen fee. And you're like, okay, and you're not really thinking about it. But if you think about it, we go with a family of 4.
Yeah.
Well, that's at $5 a month. That's $20 right there.
Yep.
So you have those things to really worry about.
Well, and in museums as well. I mean, like in the UK, a lot of museums are free.
Yeah.
But it's a free kind of pay what you want. I mean, realize that it does cost money to operate those, and so I think if you can afford it, the appropriate thing to do is however much you can afford, leave a reasonable amount, right?
Like what you would pay in a museum back home. If it's $15 to go see a museum in Chicago, leave that. When you British Museum, give a little donation. Also, I think another thing is when you're museums, you have those guides there, but if you do guides around town or the free walking tour,
guides,
I mean, you guys love those.
Yeah, and those guys, they say free, and they are free, but those guys make their living off of the tips. And we have seen people do the tours and then just leave and not, and it's, I mean, that's how they make their living.
Yeah, give them something for their time and their effort and their knowledge. And
you can be on a budget and they understand that, but make the effort, to do something, right?
Exactly. And speaking of sometimes where you have to make an effort, is going to the bathroom. And that is one thing my mom and I, and we've experienced around the world is, remember to always have some extra change because you never know when you're going to have to pay for the bathroom. You're in Venice, €2 to use the public bathroom. Germany, the Toilettenfrauen, the toilet women are out there waiting for their
they are.
clearance. And in some places, you'll have to pay. They're free to go to the bathroom, but you have to pay to get toilet paper. Like I've been to places in Central America, they're like, you want toilet paper? Oh, that costs you. That's where the cost was. So it's always a good idea.
Have some coins.
Have some coins and some napkins. But that's a hidden fee you don't think of. I know my mom, every time we travel, she's like, I need coins. She never gives her coins away. She's like, I need to have a few coins because I need that bathroom.
Yeah, absolutely.
So something to think about.
So one of the other hidden costs that a lot of people don't think about is when you rent a car. So outside the U.S., an automatic does not automatically come when you rent a car. So there's an additional fee, and it's pretty significant between an automatic and a manual. And it's actually pretty rare. I mean, because we oftentimes will rent automatics. We can both drive sticks, but I've had issues with my knees. She has too. So sometimes, and they're scarce. Automatics are scarce. But the other thing is that if I'm the primary driver and we want to add Tracy to it,
you have to pay for a second driver.
Yeah. And
So
It's not cheap.
You
not
can't
cheap.
just automatically just add somebody's name. You've got to pay to add that second driver. So
Yep.
that's definitely something nobody, really knows about.
Yeah.
And GPS. I know we all have our phones and we love Google Maps and iPhone Maps as well as anybody. But particularly when you're in a country like, let's say you're in a British territory, you're driving on the side of the road that you're not used to. Everything's just a little different. If your Google Maps has just a slight delay, you're kind of in a roundabout. You're
going around for a while.
You're National Lampoon, right?
And it's true. I mean, that is one thing. It's a hidden cost, but it's a cost worth having because some of these hidden costs are worth paying for.
Absolutely.
And getting the GPS is worth it every time.
Yep.
And I want to go off of that. Another hidden cost is if you do not let your telephone provider know that you're going to be out of the country and you get international roaming, hundreds of dollars,
Yes.
no question, that just gone.
Yep.
So make sure you're checking that beforehand because you want to make sure you're checking that. And that's why I think it's important we kind of talk about, there's one more thing we need about car insurance.
Oh yeah. On rental cars as well, insurance, and I will tell you for us automatically here, we decline it because we know between our personal insurance and the credit cards we use, we're covered. But that's not always the case if you're out of the country.
Yeah, if you're out of the country, most of the time your insurance policy will not cover that.
Right.
If you're in the U.S., like going to Mexico or Canada, could be covered. You have to talk to your policy holder or your company.
Yep.
But going abroad, it's most likely not going to be covered. If you're American going to Europe, Europeans going to other European countries could be okay, but coming to the U.S., it might not. And so you may need to get that insurance.
And there's some specific countries that I know are excluded, Iceland being one of them. You have to because of all the rock and the sand and all that. And I think Ireland, there's an issue with insurance there. So just make sure you know.
Yeah.
Don't assume you're covered because that would not be a pleasant surprise. After an already bad day, it would not be good.
Because we've had some issues where my dad turned a little too quick in Lisbon and boom, the entire side of the van was destroyed. Luckily we got the insurance. Like we literally pulled out, it was in the parking garage at the airport.
Oh my gosh.
Pulled back, they're like, it's fine, we'll deal with it when you come back in a couple of weeks. Like, all right.
Yeah.
So no one messed with us because they're already hitting people.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think another thing we really need to think about is your home.
Yeah.
Because when you travel, you have costs back home you need to think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the things is, are you going to have a house sitter?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to watch your house? And how are you going to pay them? Are you going to pay them or do you need to get souvenirs for them? Like budgeting for souvenirs or gifts for them?
Yep.
There's other costs as well.
Oh yeah, well, and so if you don't have a house sitter or a pet sitter, you need to board your animals.
Yeah,
right?
That adds
and
up.
that can be pretty expensive.
And another one is, if you're gone for a couple weeks, a month, however long, you've got to find somebody to cut your grass if it's during that time of year.
Yep. You also have to figure out how you're getting to the airport. I mean, are you taking an Uber or is a friend dropping you off or are you parking your car like Mark mentioned earlier? I mean, those are all things that people don't add into the budget usually, and they can
add up because these are all nickel and dime things.
Yes,
so nickels and dimes eventually equal dollars.
Absolutely.
As much. So we just want to give you an idea of some of the little hidden costs that you might not think about because we know that traveling isn't free. There's no travel the world for free stuff.
Right.
So you got to figure out is how to best spend your money, and I hope that the gals, please check them out. The Galivanting Gals were very helpful here. Hey, could you tell them where they can find you?
Sure, we're Galivanting Gals on YouTube. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and we'd love to have you join us.
Yeah, so we'll have a couple links to some other videos down below, and there's probably a video around here somewhere. And there's a little circle there. You can go check out their channel. We appreciate it. So thank you very much, Tracy. Thank you very much, Melinda.
Absolutely.
And you all have a great day. We'll say bye, and let's save some coin when we travel. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.